Ready?
Yeah.
Hello, Tuesday Review listeners, and welcome back.
Wait. Can we call them Tuesday reviewers?
You know, actually, that's...
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I want to talk about this. Maybe I'll leave this in. I'll talk about it. We don't have that many listeners, right?
Yeah.
Usually, a listener base would nickname themselves.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shouldn't we just call them cousins? Because we end the show.
Oh.
So we should...
Hello, cousins.
Yeah, so our fans should be called cousins.
That's amazing.
But I didn't want to say that because I was like, I don't want to nickname our own fans. That's lame. Like, they have to give their own nickname. But yeah, anyway.
See, now, if we were men versus movies, we'd say, hey, men.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That's a callback to the old show. Okay.
Anyway,
I'm sorry.
Anywho.
welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan.
I'm James.
And I'm Callum.
And tonight we're taking it a little bit easy, catching up on some news.
Just a relaxed episode, talking about some stuff that's happened over the last week or so. First thing, correction. Last week we reviewed Ready or Not, and you guys were saying Samara Weaving was Hugo Weaving's daughter.
I had no idea.
Yeah, no, she's actually his niece.
Ah,
Not close enough.
So,
those genes run strong.
yeah.
Yeah, they certainly do.
She looks like her uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Do you guys want to talk about Halloween?
Oh, look, we can. We watched Halloween.
I mean, we talked up the projector so much.
Yeah, we watched Halloween on the projector, 4K, and it was good.
Yeah, it looked really, really good.
It was really, really nice.
And this one was proper full HDs. It wasn't 1080i. If you have your own Halloween Blu-ray.
The old Halloween Blu-ray was released in 1080i. But yeah, no, I got the 4K, imported it. It looked amazing, incredible.
it looks super good.
Yeah.
And we just installed
Best
a bigger
way.
screen today.
Yeah.
An extra 20 inches.
That's going to be good. Yeah, just thought we'd quickly
Yeah,
mention.
no,
'Cause we keep talking about how great the 4K projector is and the watching movies on the big screen in the garage.
That's a good experience.
Watching Halloween on Halloween, that's like incredible. Like,
It was very good.
Yeah.
It was a good night. The picture quality was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it looks so good. I'd never been so happy to see like dead autumn leaves.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, look at all the leaves, the detail in the leaves.
As our boy walks around the neighborhood, just trying to make sure everybody's safe.
No, Michael Myers is just making sure the kids are safe, getting home all right. Just watching that they don't eat too much candy.
Making sure people are using protection.
Yeah, exactly. He's a misunderstood hero. I'm sure the new Halloween reboots
Gets rid of all
sequels,
that. They make him into some sort of criminal.
No, they'll turn him into a superhero by the end of the third one.
Yeah, probably.
Well, directed by Rob Zombie.
I mean,
the new Halloween Kills and Halloween.
we could argue, judging by the end of the latest Halloween movie, that he basically is a superhero.
Well, pretty much, yeah.
Well, no, at least they didn't try to make him sympathetic like Zombie did.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what the sequels do. So The King on Netflix, pretty good. I liked it.
I have yet to watch it, but I hear great things.
You like it? I mean, we reviewed Outlaw King like ages ago when we had the old show, and that was really good, I think. And this is like, if you like that, you'll like this. It's like good historical drama. It's just cool that Netflix, as much bad shit as they have on there, they're the only place like releasing like historical dramas, like with actual like period,
and budgets,
battle scenes, and big budgets and big name stars and.
Well, I mean, look, they're raising their prices, right? So.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
they got to fund it somehow, which I'm all for.
Well, they keep going into more and more debt.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's worth it if we get stuff like this, and The Irishman, and.
I mean, thing is, we'd go to see movies like this anyway.
Yeah, true, but I'm like, they don't make them on the mainstream.
If they did make them, we'd pay for them anyway, so we're paying our subs.
But, the theatrical, cinema releases, you don't see movies like this anymore.
No,
so
we have to build our own.
Yeah, exactly. So Netflix is like, they're doing a lot wrong, but they're doing a lot right.
That's it. It's give and take.
Yeah. What else do we talk about tonight?
So we got BlizzCon happened.
BlizzCon? Yeah.
So BlizzCon, Blizzard's convention happened over the weekend. Blizzard's been in a spot of trouble recently with reactions to some Hong Kong sort of protests.
Should we like set up what happened? Because we've like made
we've
allusions
mentioned
to it, but I don't think we've actually talked about it.
as people would know if they've been watching the news in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
There's been some protests in Hong Kong over an extradition sort of bill that China wanted passed in Hong Kong, which would allow
it's like pro democracy kind of anti-Chinese control.
Yeah, basically China wanted more control over Hong Kong, and the residents of Hong Kong or citizens of Hong Kong said no.
Yeah.
And so a lot of Chinese people, on streaming and whatnot have been saying, free Hong Kong, revolution of our time.
Yeah.
And this happened during a Hearthstone event, which of course Blizzard runs and develops the Hearthstone tournament.
One of the players
esports
streaming.
In esports, it was like the grand sort of final championship match.
Yeah.
And so this gentleman won, and during
Blitzchung.
Speech.
Blitzchung.
Yeah, is his gamer name.
And during his sort of speech, he said some things about freeing
free
Hong
Hong
Kong.
Kong. Yeah.
And Blizzard cut the stream, took away his prize money, and banned him for 6 months.
Yeah.
But that's, and Blizzard, American Blizzard defended it with, he just broke some of the rules of the tournament. But Taiwan Blizzard responded with, how dare he offend China?
Yeah.
So a lot of people got a little bit mad at the split sort of...
Also, like, Blizzard is an American company.
It's an American-based company.
They're partially owned by a Chinese company, or they have ties to China?
No, so...
Or they just don't want to offend China because they want to do business there.
They don't have investors in China, as far as I'm aware. But
Okay.
but the 12% of their market is in China.
That makes
So
sense.
it's not like they're owned by China, but they're sort of...
But we'll probably discuss, if not in this episode, on another episode, about how just movies in general now are just made to get the Chinese audience, so they don't want to say anything that might offend.
South Park's done some good sort of commentary on that lately as well. So basically, a lot of people are kind of upset at the different reactions in the different audiences. Like, I understand China Blizzard China wants to play nice with Blizzard.
Blizzard handled it in the worst way, where they're objectively on the wrong side of history.
And they even got some lawmakers in America being like, you better be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, even people who had no real stake in the game were like, you shouldn't be bowing down to China's influence.
Because the thing about this is it's verging on political influence.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like Blizzard really has to be careful about how they sort of handle another country's political and foreign influence over an American company.
Yeah.
Because this could get them into trouble legally with with the American side of it.
And just not even that. It's just like it's the wrong thing to do.
Definitely.
For someone to speak out against injustice and, violence against protesters.
And to be punished for
it. And to be punished for it. And then to this big mega corporation to be like, sorry about that.
Yeah. And like for a company that I might get one of their oats wrong here, but it says something like every voice matters. And Blizzard's sort of whole company moral ethics policy is about everyone has the right to be heard, all the that kind of good shit.
Until it infringes on their
business. Until it infringes on their business.
Money
and then all of a sudden, it's a no-go zone.
Yeah.
So BlizzCon happened over the weekend, and the first thing that J. Allen Brack did, the president or CEO, wherever he is, I think he's president of Blizzard. The first thing he did was apologize for how they handled the situation.
They weren't at PAX this year, and they weren't at other conventions.
They've cancelled a few events
because they knew people. They knew people would protest. And then BlizzCon was happening, and there was quite a few protesters, at the front. Yeah, and the first thing that the president did was apologize. But like all corporations, it was a hollow apology.
Basically,
I don't think it didn't mean anything. They're not going to change.
They can apologize, but at the same time, would they do the same things in the same situation?
Well, 10 hours ago from the website Polygon, Blizzard will not reverse Blitzchung ban despite Brack's on-stage apology.
See?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a hollow apology. It's the same, the same stuff's happening with the NBA and a lot of other places where it's just like the foreign influence over these corporations, because they know they have a large stake, they can make a lot of money in China, and they're objectively doing the wrong thing. To sort of keep their business partners happy and to make more money. When people speak out about it, they're like, well, sorry you got offended.
In some ways, the NBA is worse, because the NBA doesn't have an NBA China arm. NBA is just the NBA.
Yeah.
They have the final say. But in terms of Activision Blizzard has to be... Really, they have to be careful about how they handle this. So I don't want to get kicked out of China, but Blizzard needs to I guess we'll say, reacquire its own division almost.
Yeah.
Because there's Blizzard Taiwan, which is Blizzard's arm in China, and if they're acting somewhat independently, then it's harder to control the narrative.
I also
So
feel like
Blizzard America, Jalen Brack could be like, I had nothing to do with this, and he could be right. He could be like, well,
But at the end of the day, like, whose decision is it?
yeah, exactly.
It's probably his.
It's probably his, but at the same time, I would say the Chinese government on the ground also has quite a fair sway at the office.
Yeah.
I also feel like a part of the blame should be laid at people's feet for kowtowing to China, because like I feel like if China knows they're a communist state,
Yeah.
they know that their ideals are not reflected in the West.
Yeah.
They need to accept that.
Exactly.
If they want money, and like they want the NBA, they want like they want Blizzard Sports and all that. They need to accept that sometimes there might be some political blowback on them.
They can be offended all they want. At the end of the day, they're objectively doing the wrong thing.
That's right.
And if someone in a free democratic country like Australia or America says, "Hey, you're doing the wrong thing,"
Just accept
it, move on.
Yeah, like recently, Quentin Tarantino denied requests to edit Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for the Chinese audience. He's like, no.
Yeah.
And you know,
and it's not going to get shown in China, and he's going to...
No, Chinese movie theaters won't make any money from it, where they would have done
Exactly.
if they allowed unaltered movies. What's going to happen is the Chinese people are going to pirate it.
Yeah.
Nobody
Piracy's huge in China.
Yeah, that's like, no one makes money.
Yeah.
So they need to just be more open with media,
but
not just movies. Like, all
but
types of
here's
art.
the bigger problem, which, like, you know, Disney and a lot of other big movie studios who make blockbuster movies, now that China's opened up to them and they can make a lot of money with their blockbuster movies, they're deliberately making movies that don't show or say certain things so that they can get released there. So already, like, it's not really a censorship after the fact. It's like before the fact.
Yeah.
It's written with that in mind.
Exactly.
We've had this argument before with the rating system, and now they're making movies with rating systems and foreign influence in mind.
It's not that just they're cutting stuff out after to say, oh, you know, we'll release that version in China and we'll release the uncut version in Western countries. It's like before they even make the movie, they're like, all right, you can't say this, you
it's
can't
like
do
at the
this.
script level.
Yeah, exactly.
And half the time they're made by, you know, Chinese production
they,
companies that are
they're
worth
like
billions of
co-produced
dollars.
by...
Like, you know, one of my favorite Sylvester Stallone movies, Escape Plan.
Yeah, God.
Escape Plan 2, you mean?
No, Escape Plan 1 is a really good movie.
Yeah,
which
but
has
was that
no...
co-produced?
No. Escape Plan 1 is... I don't think there's nothing to China.
They might have had a Chinese co-producer on the first one, but the second one was like purely just made
for the Chinese audience,
sort of,
basically. And it was rubbish. I'm not rubbishing all movies made with Chinese production. But Escape Plan 2 is horrendous.
Well, that's the thing is, I think I know we've talked about this, but I can't remember when, but making movies for China or any other foreign audience, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, we're all for that. But to, like, compromise integrity just to appease
that's right
you know, someone, especially appease a government who is doing terrible despicable things. Like, that's the problem.
Pursuit of the almighty dollar
Exactly
is the problem.
You're not pursuing art, you're pursuing money at any cost.
Exactly. Like, even when human rights are being violated in your view, it's like, well, sorry, we can't help.
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, because if we help, then we're gonna, you know, perhaps be making slightly less money.
Exactly, and unfortunately, the movie industry is not alone in this.
No,
as we were talking about with Blizzard.
NBA,
like, you know, I recently cancelled my World of Warcraft subscription. I put in the, you know, in the sort of the reason box. I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
it's like your game is not worth the, you know, the free dignity of like a free Hong Kong or whatever I put, and. You know, I was going to stick to that, but the next expansion looks pretty cool, and I might go crawling back. It's going to be a test of my will.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is like I think a while back we talked about the Shadowlands DLC, which was leaked but wasn't confirmed. But at BlizzCon, it was confirmed with a trailer and everything.
So one image was confirmed to be real, and the name was confirmed to be real. Everything else was false.
Oh, okay.
So what happened was they usually start off BlizzCon with the World of Warcraft stuff first. And so that was the big, because BFA, Battle for Azeroth, hasn't, it's okay, but generally people been pretty down on it.
That was the last expansion.
Yeah, so that's the current one. They've been losing subscribers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and all the free Hong Kong stuff. They're
so
losing people there.
Blizzard's reputation's been trashed.
Yeah.
So there was a trailer. Have you seen any of the new stuff?
Just a few images here and there.
Okay, yeah. So I won't go into the lore story stuff because
Yeah.
we have a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's going to be a journey into the underworld, known as the Shadowlands, like the realm of death.
We talked about in the leak. They said that, which
Yeah.
I thought sounded really cool.
The way you go about it is changed. So what happens instead is the Lich King, Bolvar, who's the current Lich King, not Arthas from Warcraft 3. So we killed Arthas. Bolvar took his place because there always has to be a Lich King.
Okay.
There always has to be someone on the Frozen Throne because the Frozen Throne, something separates life and death.
Okay.
And the Scourge,
Yeah.
with like the undead army, they're controlled by the Lich King.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sylvanas, the current bad guy, like twirly mustache bad guy at the moment, who was the leader of the Horde,
Yeah.
has abandoned the Horde. She goes to Bolvar on the Frozen Throne. For some reason, she's mega powerful. She slaps him down and she breaks his helmet.
Okay.
So no one is in control of the Scourge. So you have all the undead armies kind of ready to like just run amok.
Yeah.
And the barrier between life and death has been shattered.
Oh, that's cool.
So the heroes...
So now players can like...
Yeah. So the heroes of Azeroth have to travel into the Shadowlands to make it right again.
Yeah.
And I have to say, like, I've been like I think I said to you last time. I'm like, with all the goings on, Blizzard have to prove to me that they're making content worthy enough for me to stay.
Well, that's kind of what I want to talk about. Is that even with all this controversy, like a lot of people, like with Shadowlands announced and Diablo 4 being announced,
Which we'll talk about that.
Yeah, Overwatch 2. Like I feel like most people either going to get back on board or have never left.
Well, in terms of the controversy,
I can't really blame them either.
In terms of the controversy, I will say I feel like, from what I understand, it was Blizzard as a whole company did wrong.
Yeah.
They continue to do wrong, as evidenced by the article I mentioned.
Yeah.
But it seems to be that the Taiwanese arm of Blizzard didn't check with main Blizzard. They just did whatever they thought was damage control.
Yeah.
And Blizzard had no idea how to handle that.
It's different motivations between the different
so
sort
Blizzard
of sections.
Like I said, at the end of the day, if the American branch is the one who makes the final decision, they should be like reverse it.
No, that's right.
Or else.
That's
and
right.
The fact that they're not,
they're stupid. There's no other way to put it. Just because
they're not stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. They just don't want to get kicked out of China.
Yeah.
They might be intelligent, but they're stupid. Like, at the end of the day, if you're up on the board and you're like, we have to side with China on this, you're not operating with a full tank.
Yeah.
But my point is that I feel like just when we talk about filmmakers who have a bad reputation, the problem is when it comes to these video games, there's hundreds, if not thousands of people all working passionately on these projects. And like my feeling is a lot of these people put their heart and their soul into specifically World of Warcraft and Overwatch.
Yeah.
And for people to just abandon those completely,
that's always the hardest.
You don't get to, especially like with filmmaking, I can understand it's more black and white with filmmaking, but with video games specifically, the people who do the wrong are at the top. They do not make the assets. They don't film anything.
Yeah, the developers and the publishers are completely separate.
That's
almost.
right. It's like the people making the models, the people programming, they have nothing to do with jail and
they killed themselves to make that game just for the company to do something wrong so that fans boycott the product
it's also
and therefore don't support the people who killed themselves making the product.
Right. And there was a staff walkout. Like, so the people on the ground in Blizzard also protested.
They protested, yeah.
So, like, like I was saying, they needed to prove to me that they wanted me to stay. And I feel like generally they did prove to me that they're willing to learn from their mistakes.
We'll see.
Look, I mean, I'm lucky where I don't play World of Warcraft. I'm not really into any Blizzard games, or even Activision games at this point. So I'm kind of lucky where it's like I don't have to cancel subscriptions. I don't have to boycott. I'm just already out. But like I said, like I can't blame people who like, oh, Shadowlands looks really cool. Oh, Diablo 4, Overwatch 2. It's like, people want what they want. They want to have fun. They want to play games. And the people who made those games made them, worked hard making them. So it's like you can't,
So I think we should quickly go through the changes happening with Warcraft quickly. The big changes.
Yeah.
level squish, which means that currently characters are at level 120.
Mm.
That's going to be lowered to 50, and then the max cap will be 60. Which there's a whole bunch of changes going on with how you level up.
That seems like a big squish.
It is a big squish. It's the first of its kind, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And
Like I thought you were going to say 120 was a cap and they're going to squish it to 100, but
Yeah, no.
the fact that they smushed it all the way down.
So there's a major problem with leveling at the moment.
Mm.
It takes, depending on who you ask, it's either too quick or too long,
Okay.
but it's repetitive.
Yeah.
So what happens now is, let's just say you're playing the game, you level up to 20 or whatever, or, well, we'll say 50 because that's like the thing. And then you can go to Burning Crusade,
Yeah.
and then you essentially go through the expansions one at a time until you reach endgame. What they're doing is they're bringing the cap down to 50, and then at level 20 you choose an expansion.
Level 10.
At level 10 you choose an expansion, and you play the whole way through the endgame in that expansion. So if you want to experience your favorite expansion,
Yeah.
you can play the whole thing in your expansion until you reach endgame.
That's interesting because then you don't just go to an expansion already maxed out and just destroy everything.
Well, it's not. So it's just about the there's less repetition. So
Yeah.
if you hate an expansion, like I do not like Warlords of Draenor,
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to stick in my favorite areas. I'm going to have a nice time.
Mm.
It also means that when you do make your next character, if you do, you can go to somewhere you haven't been in a while, and it's more a fresh experience.
The problem at the moment is generally you go through the same zones every character you
and
play.
it just-
Okay.
Whereas
it
now
wears
you
down.
can pick a different road.
Okay.
So there's also major class changes.
Mm.
At the moment, it's called spec priority, which is like every class has 3 different specs, depending on how you play. So they're focusing on that more at the cost of what's called class identity.
Mm.
So instead of me saying I'm a warrior, I'm good at hitting things, it's I'm a protection warrior, I'm good with shields.
Okay.
What they're doing now with the next expansion is they're bringing it back to a class identity where you have all a lot of the same skills from each of the different types of class, but you have a more individualized feel, which is a benefit. Because that's what it used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
And they've made some big changes. Now they're undoing those changes.
Mm.
Which also the leveling system means that the new leveling system means that every time you level up, pretty much every time, you'll get something. So whether it's a new
Okay.
ability, a new talent point,
Yeah.
whatever.
Because there's less.
Yeah, so at the moment, you can go 20 levels without getting anything meaningful.
So
which sucks.
squishing that much down is actually probably beneficial.
Yeah, it means that when you get a level, it feels like you actually achieved something.
Yeah.
As opposed to getting something every 10
levels,
15
yeah.
levels.
Yeah.
The new zones for the new expansion look incredible.
Mm.
Beautifully designed. There's a new feature called the Tower of the Damned, which is like a pseudo-randomly generated dungeon for 1 to 4 people, which looks really interesting.
Mm.
Like, interesting is the theme of the expansion. They're thinking outside of their box.
Yeah.
Which is what's got people excited.
Mm.
We've got a lot to talk about, so we'll leave World of Warcraft alone
Yeah.
for a sec. But Diablo 4 was one of the highlights for me. Did you see the trailer?
No, I didn't.
Very Clive Barker.
Yeah.
Like, it's like got that same kind of horror feel of Diablo 1 and kind of Diablo 2.
Yeah.
So like just like the monster design, it looks very Clive Barker-y, like very Cenobite,
Mm.
like Hellraiser-y.
Yeah.
Really exciting stuff. Apparently they're going to make the story a lot darker. It's like more gory, violent.
Yeah.
The abilities seem to work together. So if you're a mage and you free something, if a warrior uses like a hammer ability, it'll break the enemy open.
Okay, that's cool.
Just like lots of really interesting stuff
Yeah.
there.
And it's online.
And it's online, yeah. So you can also PvP.
You don't have to play online.
Yeah.
You can play you can play in like a solo sort of mode, but there's always going to be people around.
So it's like a
It's online, but not online.
like a division sort of.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that.
You-
I mean, I wasn't going to probably play it anyway, but now I'm probably definitely not.
Oh, no, it looks good. I'm really keen for it.
I mean, this, we've been talking about Blizzard, getting people back on their side, and you saying, like, I think they've made up for it. It's like, I think...
In terms of their
this
content.
This is also the company who a couple years ago said, you think you want it, but you don't,
Yeah.
And then they announced a new Diablo game, and they're like, oh, but it's a mobile game. And everyone was like, what the fuck? Get the hell out of here. and they were like, "Well, you guys don't have phones. What's going on?" You know, like they handle it.
That wasn't mentioned at this year at BlizzCon.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing: is
that
they
project
handle,
was dead buried.
They handle everything in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
But I think what you were saying is they've slowly started to make things right by introducing classic WoW, by introducing the real Diablo 4.
One of the big World of Warcraft commentators, Taliesin and Evertail, they have like a YouTube channel. He was saying that one of the big takeaways he found from BlizzCon this year was that he feels like Blizzard are listening. So like with the World of Warcraft, with all the World of Warcraft stuff, he feels like they've been listening to the community, and not all the. They're always good. There's people upset with everything you could possibly do.
Yeah, there's always always people you can't please.
Like some of the steps they're taking are really positive. Like for example, in the last couple of expansions, you've had something called an artifact. And in Legion, it was a sword or a weapon. In the new one, in BFA, it's an amulet. But a big part of the end game is grinding levels for this amulet, and it gets really tiresome, and every level you need to get more experience for it, and that's just what you do.
Yeah.
They're getting rid of that.
Okay.
And apparently when they said no more AP grinding, the crowd literally cheered. And he wasn't done talking, they just started cheering.
Yeah.
So
maybe they're starting to listen to what people want from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that also counts for Diablo as well, because they're overhauling the crafting system to make it more interesting. So like all these different effects you can get, so like triggers. So if you stand still for X amount of seconds, then something else will happen, and then something else will happen. Yeah. Which makes really interesting ways of playing the game. Yeah. Which I'm really excited for. Yeah. Like big events that you can do with other people. So a monster might spawn in an area. Yeah. And you can either fight that solo or join other people to take it down. And if you kill it in time, you get awesome loot. Okay. Which is like what I'm interested in, like these kinds of making games more engaging. Because I like Diablo 3 and I've played it, but I feel like it gets very samey. Yeah. Especially towards the end game area.
Yeah, like as someone who doesn't really play online games, who doesn't play MMOs, who's kind of against the whole games as a service, I do see a benefit in a game that's constantly being updated and changed. Yeah. Like the amount of times, like you just been describing, the amount of times WoW has changed for better and worse, or the things added, just on the fly, where you might be playing one day and they'll be like, well, here's a new quest or a new monster. Yeah. Like that's interesting, because that's a game where, even though I'm more like interested in games where it's like you buy the game, everything's in the game, like that's what I want. But I do see the benefit in like having a game that's always evolving.
So the main competitor to, and in my opinion, and the objective view is the main competitor and best MMO on the market right now, Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, it does that. Sometimes you'll wake up and there will be a new update which will have a new quest, a new dungeon, all kinds of things, and they keep it fresh all the time. They cross over with other games. Oh wow! Really? To introduce like separate storylines and like interesting new items and stuff, like all kinds of really creative stuff, which World of Warcraft doesn't do. So I'm like, to be modern, to keep up with it, Blizzard need to start engaging more, and they seem to be doing that slowly. We'll see. It might just be a shit show.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can't. Yeah, like I said, you can't please everyone, and Blizzard has a track record of fucking things up. And,
modern Blizzard.
Yeah.
We won't really mention Heroes of the Storm or Hearthstone because, frankly, they're like Blizzard's lesser known games. Yeah, yeah. And they're more esportsy games, but our mutual friend Jake was saying that Hearthstone had like a half-hour like little mini conference where they unveiled every single new card coming out.
Oh god!
And Jake's like, "This is so boring."
But I'm sure there are people out there who live for that.
If you are big into Hearthstone, it would be riveting. Yeah, I'm not going to hate on it because I don't like the game.
Yeah,
that's true. But we should talk about Overwatch 2.
Overwatch is one of my favorite games. Overwatch 2 was very concerning because there were leaks leading up to this BlizzCon where basically people were saying that Overwatch 2 is going to be a separate game and you're not going to be able to move any progress over, and basically Blizzard will stop supporting Overwatch 1. Yeah. So people were getting stiffed.
Well, how does Destiny 2 deal with it?
So Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 are completely separate games.
Okay. So it's the same as what Overwatch is doing? Or?
I don't believe you could transfer your Destiny 1 stuff. I think I think you could kinda, but not really.
Just parts of it.
Difference is with
different
Destiny.
systems.
The difference is with Destiny and Overwatch is that people
Different
invest
engines.
thousands of dollars into loot boxes for cosmetic items. So then what's going to happen to people's hard work if they can't carry over their cosmetic skins and stuff like that, which they purchase?
This is where the problems of these kind of games start.
But
popping
however,
up.
the leaks were wrong, and we can.
Okay.
Blizzard's been kind of weird about the marketing of this game because, as it turns out, it's more like an expansion than it is a sequel. So they're not selling a separate product. They are and they're not. Eventually, Overwatch 2 is going to use the same game as Overwatch 1. So they'll eventually just update Overwatch to be Overwatch 2. And it's not going to be a separate thing. It's going to be like an update. But you'll have to buy the sort of Overwatch 2's content.
Yeah.
So the Overwatch 2 content really is just story stuff.
Yeah.
So you can play, if you like Overwatch as it is now, you can continue to play Overwatch just like it is now, and you won't have to pay for anything. But if you can get some sort of graphical engine upgrades and all new sort of story content if you buy Overwatch.
It's kind of more of a WoW kind of thing where it's like
kind of, but not
upgrading
really.
to the next version.
Kind of, but not really.
Yeah.
So like eventually Overwatch is Overwatch if you look at it like that. It's more akin to an expansion pack, but not in the same way as World of Warcraft. Like World of Warcraft's always about achieving the next tier thing, like, you know, achieving the next levels, going to new zones. Whereas the Overwatch one it's like you're buying the story of the game. The online content is free.
Okay, so you can still just play the game, like jump in, fight a bunch of people.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want to experience the new,
if you want to experience the story of the game, then you have to pay extra.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like WoW, but not kind of like WoW. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, I know you had reservations about it, but so it looks like those fears have been sort of
allayed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, that's good. You guys want to mention anything else about BlizzCon?
Yeah, there was no reference to a World of Warcraft Classic other than it was successful.
Okay.
They've been kind of cagey on the numbers, but I reckon it brought back thousands of subscribers.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's tripled their subscriber numbers.
Yeah.
But they haven't mentioned it.
But remember, guys, we didn't want it.
Yeah,
there was going to be a cagey.
Keep in mind, it's funny to look back on that because the reason that it even exists is because there was that Nostalgia server which had like 10,000 concurrent people at like every one moment.
That's the thing, is like we have to, people constantly have to push for what we want. Yeah. And corporations eventually just break down and go, okay. And most of the time they give us an inferior product, but...
So the state of Classic is they've just released releasing the Raid Diamol, which was like one of the big ones. But nobody knows where they're going to take it. So the two theories are... And this is the first theory I mentioned is the one that's least likely because it's like fan theories and it's just people wishing into the universe. Classic Plus, which is Blizzard will make brand new content with the aesthetic of Classic in mind. Okay. So harder dungeons, kind of, you know, the whole kind of all the classic systems in mind. Yeah. But brand new content we've never seen before.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's not going to happen. I mean, they kind of... I haven't played RuneScape Classic, but I'm pretty sure that's what RuneScape Classic did, is that they just created some new stuff with the old systems in mind, and it worked fine. But Blizzard's not a JagX who make RuneScape, so we'll see. I don't think so. I think it's very unlikely because...
Well, yeah, if we had to twist their arm...
you'd have to hire a whole new creative team. It'd take resources and attention away from retail.
If we had to twist their arm to get WoW Classic, you know, it's going to be hard to get them to make something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Which, don't get me wrong, I'd like it if it happened. Yeah. But the more realistic option is what's called like time servers. So like you might have like... I should say in EverQuest they call it time progression or something. Time locked rather. So in a time locked server in quotation marks is a server where you have Classic and then 6 months later it becomes Burning Crusade. Yeah. And then you get to experience the little events.
The change.
Yeah. That's the likely one, because like Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King are the most popular expansions. They would get massive numbers if they said to the audience, "Look, next year, Burning Crusade." Yeah. Which I think it's a good financial move. Blizzard's all about that bottom line, so I reckon it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. They've said that they're not... Someone asked at a Q&A about it, and the Blizzard guys were like, look, we're not opposed to it, if we are going to do it, we want to do it in a way that makes it work well, and like will allow them to do it, easier and smoothly. So I reckon the end game will be like classic servers right up until retail.
Okay.
So like you can essentially play World of Warcraft after the game's finished.
Yeah.
You'll be able to keep playing and keep subscribing, which is the important thing.
Yeah.
For like decades at a time.
I mean,
because there's a lot of expansions. So if they have like one expansion a year, that's like,
But yeah, it's like I said, it's like I know they're doing it purely for money, but like
that's still like
it. But it's kind of cool that you can just kind of be like, well, I want to play this, I want to play this, and
the way Daybreak, the company that handles EverQuest, does it is they release new ones every now and again. So they'll have the server that's been going for years, and that'll be up to like we'll say the 7th expansion, and you can just join that and quickly catch up.
Yeah.
But then they'll have like the retail, which is current. But then they'll release a brand new classic server where you can make a new character.
Yeah.
And they'll say in 8 months we're releasing the 2nd expansion. So you have 8 months to catch up and get excited.
Yeah.
And what happens is whole communities will go from one server to like you'll get to retail at the end.
Yeah.
Then the whole communities, whole guilds will jump right back onto the classic one.
Start again.
Because it'll take you years to get there. So it's like a fresh experience again.
Yeah, we talked about this a while back with WoW Classic, where it's like people who had never played before can start it.
Yeah, especially if you're new to the game and you've never experienced glitching. Like Nathan and myself play Classic in vanilla, but not very long, and I didn't really understand the connections between Classic and Burning Crusade.
Okay.
Or like, all those other things. And I wasn't there for Cataclysm. But it's like, it'd be interesting to be there to see those events you can participate in, which connect the stories.
Yeah. It's like to experience what you might have missed out on
exactly.
back, what, like 10 years ago?
Yeah. More. Yeah. So I think that's a good thing. I think they'll do that.
Yeah.
But I hope they do it large scale, like Daybreak. Because like, what's the point? Like, the end result should be people playing whichever they like the most.
Yeah.
But having the option to move your characters down to Classic or whatever the case might be. I don't know.
You also don't want to split the servers into like little teeny ones where no one's really playing anywhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so the I guess the idea would be, and it's like, so how they handle it is they have an American batch of servers, an Asian batch of servers, and like a Latino batch of servers.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that like for each branch, they'll have a Burning Crusade server, or probably, let's be honest, they'll probably have 2 or 3 of each expansion.
Yeah.
Because what happened with Classic is they launched it with like 1 each, and then nobody could get in.
Yeah.
So but I think that's how they'll do it.
Yeah.
It's good financial sense. It'll be good for the community.
Well, yeah, hopefully they continue to
they're also
improve.
They're also apparently remastering Diablo 2, but no one's heard anything.
Okay. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, hopefully they continue to do the right thing and not,
Well,
but
we'll see.
Not looking so good, is it?
Yeah, outlook not so good.
Moving on.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon.
House of the Dragon, the new Game of Thrones prequel series on HBO.
Because they can't leave their moneymaker alone.
Oh, no, they're going to milk this thing dry. Can you blame them? I mean, even with the backlash, it was still like the biggest thing ever. But there were like a bunch of prequel TV series at HBO in development. There was 2 that were like confirmed.
I mean, is it just me though, or is it a little, but not boring? But like, do we need it?
Well, here's the thing: is as someone who really hated the final season and who's like everyone else was really soured by it, and I still love the world of Game of Thrones, the world that George Martin created. And the way HBO brought it to life, just visually, it's just, you don't want to waste that.
Yeah.
So for them to make these prequels, like, I'm on board. Like, I want more.
Just keep D&D away.
Yeah, and the fact that D&D are not showrunning it or are not involved at all, like, that's the best part. Like, it's like we can get all the cool Game of Thrones stuff without it being soured by a couple guys who don't like it and who are going to run it into the ground. So I'm actually really looking forward to this. So there was those 2 prequels that were actually confirmed. There was one that was apparently about the Long Night and about like the beginnings of the Stark house and, the war against the White Walkers.
That's cool.
And that would have been really cool. And then there's this one, House of the Dragon, which was about House Targaryen and the conquering of the Seven Kingdoms. Apparently, the Long Night one has been cancelled, and that they're focusing on the House of the Dragon, which actually, even though I was looking forward to the other one, that makes sense because the other prequel, the Long Night prequel, kind of, even though it's set thousands of years before the Game of Thrones series, because it's directly about the White Walkers, and because where we saw the White Walkers end up and that be so anticlimactic, it's just it would be kind of pointless. Even though it would be really cool to see that period in time, and like I said, I really want to dive into that world. It's just like, D&D ruined the end of the White Walkers story. So to go back to the beginning is like, well, not really. There's no point to that. Even though, George Martin's ending will be a lot better in terms of the HBO canon. Well, yeah. But in terms of the HBO canon, they've already ruined it.
George still might shit the bed.
Well, yeah, if they ever come out, which we'll talk about soon.
His whole thing is like, because everyone loves the TV show so much, I don't want to write something and people not like it. I'm like, man.
Well, now he doesn't have to worry,
just do what you were doing before HBO purchased your properties.
Yeah, but we've talked about this before, where George Martin has always said, like, if you're writing a mystery and someone figures out who the killer is, you don't change the killer halfway through your writing your story, because then the whole rest of your story doesn't make sense. Yeah. So you just keep continuing until you finish the story, and you if people guessed it, they guessed it. That's unfortunate, but who cares? So I don't think he's going to be worried that what people think. And like I said, at this point, I don't think there's anything he can do that would be as bad as the show.
He's a good writer. Like he's
an average writer.
He just needs to do it.
Well, here's the thing: is with the House of the Dragon, it's based on the Fire and Blood book that he wrote, which was like a history of the House Targaryen, which that's really cool, and it's going to be about conquering the Seven Kingdoms. So it's far back enough from the regular Game of Thrones series that there won't be any like recurring young versions of characters.
Yeah.
But it's also, far enough along that I guess they can sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's in a familiar place for, casual fans, where they don't have to be shocked at like why everything's so different, because it's sort of set in a place where, yes, things are different, but you get the House Targaryen, you got the different, it's just the houses haven't, there's like
different people involved.
But George Martin has said that he's actually going to be involved with the show quite closely, like he was with the first few seasons of Game of Thrones when it was at its best. And the reason why it was so good was probably because of his involvement. So that's a good sign. However, that means he's, again,
not writing
for the last 10 years or so, he's not writing. But he says, according to him, he's not going to be involved with the show until he's finished Winds of Winter. So you take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But
$5, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, who knows? But, I mean, if the show's in active development and it's going to come out, 2020, end of 2020, maybe 2021, I don't know. It's like, hopefully that means Winds of Winter is coming soon. Also, I think we talked about this a while back. He said that when he gets to Worldcon in New Zealand, which is in the middle of 2020, he's gonna have Winds of Winter, the transcript, whatever you call it, the manuscript, yeah. And he said that, like, if I get to New Zealand and I haven't finished it, like, I give you permission to like lock me up until it's done. So again, take that with a grain of salt. But from what we're hearing, if it's true at all, with New Zealand in the middle of 2020 and with the House Targaryen show, House of the Dragon show, presumably in production to be released in 2020, Winds of Winter might come out in 2020. But probably not. But then there's, of course, Dream of Spring. The last book still has to come out after that. So
that'll be ghostwritten.
Yeah, I think they'll have to pull a Robert Jordan. But I'm looking forward to the House of the Dragon show, even though, like I said, being burned with what D&D did to the regular Game of Thrones series, I want to play in that world. I want to.
Yeah.
I like just the world George R. R. Martin created. Like kind of like with the Lord of the Rings series, it's like you drop in at any point on the timeline, you got an interesting story to tell. You got interesting events. So I think really they can just pick any time they want in the Game of Thrones timeline and be like, let's make a show about that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. And like I said, D&D aren't involved, and the HBO, the production side, which was the best part of Game of Thrones, they've got that, and they've got some of the crew from the old show working on it. So
he's hoping. I won't have to watch Game of Thrones
and
to
that's the
get
thing.
invested.
It's like, because when we're talking about Game of Thrones, and I was like, I can't really recommend it to people anymore because of where it ends up. Because I don't want to tell people, I'll watch the first 5 seasons and then stop, kind of thing. And even me, like, I want to buy the Blu-ray box set, but it's like, once I do, it's like, am I going to rewatch it all? Am I going to just rewatch the first 4 seasons? Like, it's kind of sours the whole experience.
Yeah.
But with House of the Dragon, I'm hoping that, I'm hoping it will end up being, good.
Yeah, you can watch
season 10 or whatever it goes up to. But I'm hoping you can watch it independently. Who knows? Looking forward to it. It's all more fantasy. Like we always like to say, the more fantasy, the better.
Leading on from that,
Speaking of fantasy,
we're excited for
hype. Air horn.
The Witcher has a new main trailer.
Yes.
And it looks fantastic.
I was hyped when I saw the first trailer, but after this trailer, I was like, damn.
Bathtubs, man.
He's got bathtubs.
100% in. 1,000% in.
How good is Cavill's voice, though?
Yeah.
I was like, that's
Perfect.
on point.
I mean, that's an actor, man. Everyone was like, he's not Geralt.
Look,
yes, he is.
yeah.
Good thing it's not Ben Mendelsohn. Oh, yeah, I'm a Witcher, mate.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to slay some monsters.
Hey, he does an English accent in The King. Yeah.
Oh, he must have got paid enough.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, I don't mean to shit on Mendo. I'm sorry.
Mendo's the best, man. You got to get on that Mendo train. Mendo Express.
Andrew, he's putting on an American accent in The Outsider.
Yeah.
The Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah, no, he's done American characters before. Place Beyond the Pines, that's a good Mendo performance.
Yeah, no, and the showrunner of The Witcher has, not that this means anything because Netflix could cancel it. Not that I think they will.
No.
Because it's too big a property.
Oh, yeah, we talked about how they're just cancelling stuff after 2 or 3 seasons just to get the new subscribers and then they cancel. But I think this is their new flagship Game of Thrones killer.
This is
their
new
Stranger Things. Yeah, Stranger Things, but more adult.
The showrunner says they have 7 seasons as a plan in mind.
Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't end up like Game of Thrones and they kind of screw up at the ending. But
yeah, I was going to say it was based on books, but
the books, I mean, I've never read the books. I don't know much about them, but the books, I don't think, do they have a definitive ending?
I don't know.
Or is it just a series of ongoing
adventures?
Because what I've heard is there's a few core novels and then there's a few short stories. It's not like a Game of Thrones 7 series, 8 series novel. It's not like a Wheel of Time.
It's definitely shorter.
Saga. Like it's like a shorter, like it's like he created the world, created a couple of stories and novels, and then that's it. Like, so it'll be interesting to see how they adapt that. And but I mean, it looks really promising.
It does. The production quality looks HBO levels.
And like we said, like with HBO and Game of Thrones, it's like you want to play in that world.
Yeah.
But it's like, even if the Game of Thrones prequel wasn't coming out, it's like now you got The Witcher to play in, So even like my parents who watch Game of Thrones, it's like, well, that's finished. Now they can watch The Witcher. Well,
we showed our dad the trailer for The Witcher. He was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
The battle scenes look pretty legit.
Yeah. And I like the
fighting styles.
Henry Cavill's fighting style as Geralt is on point.
Yeah, and we haven't even really seen the magic and the monsters yet. Only glimpses.
Yeah.
So
I'm very hyped for this show.
Yeah.
I don't think Netflix will cancel it very easily because it's their next. It's like arguably
unless
one of their biggest IPs.
Yeah. Unless for some reason no one watches it, which is not going to happen.
No.
Everyone's going to watch your show, even people who haven't played the games or heard of the books or whatever. Even people I think it's going to be similar to Game of Thrones. Even people who don't like fantasy or don't really like, they're going to be like, oh, that cool Henry Cavill sword show.
The Witcher
you know?
doesn't count as fantasy. It's too like mainstream. You know what I mean? It's like that element. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's not nerdy to watch The Witcher.
Yeah, it's
Just
cool
like it's not
because
nerdy to watch Game of
there's
Thrones.
the guy who plays Superman with long hair and a sword, and it's like a
Yeah.
cool mainstream kind of.
And it's
it's
gonna
on
be
Netflix.
boobies.
It's on it's on
Yeah,
Netflix.
titties, yeah.
It's on Netflix, so it's like everyone can watch it. You don't have to.
It's got that TNA appeal.
Yeah, exactly, as The Witcher should.
No, it's gonna be. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. It's gonna
And
be really
it comes out December 20th, which
good. Merry
is
Christmas, boys!
very soon.
Sooner than I thought. I didn't realize it was that soon.
Hype.
Gosh.
No,
Oh,
I'm
Next month.
Yeah.
Comes out next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be good, and we will binge it
we'll-
accordingly and
we'll
let
have
you
to
know our
I'll-
feelings.
like because it comes out on the 20th,
and we'll
It's
have
like,
the NBN and
it's
the
like-
projector.
it's like I'll have to binge it, then we can like screw around with the Star Wars review and release that, and then I'll binge it again, and then we'll do the like full
So,
Witcher review.
How many episodes do we know?
I'll probably be like
I think
8
it's
or
like
10.
8 or 10
Okay.
hour episodes. Yeah.
So you can binge it over a couple of days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like when it comes out, you know, in terms of like our release schedules of the podcast, it comes out on the Friday, and then the 24th is Christmas Eve, which we might, depends on if we have a show, we might do the Star Wars show, and then the week after is
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. So it's like we might not, so we might have to record like
Whenever we can.
and
yeah.
then we'll just upload them whenever. So, but yeah, I'll definitely look. We're looking forward to that, and we'll do a whole like we do Dark Crystal and the boys. Like we have to do a whole like special on it.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Next on our list of topics for this evening, HBO Max has sort of been unveiled. Before we get into the sort of the deep dive of what HBO Max is going to entail, HBO trademarked HBO Max for use in Australia, which is interesting.
Can I just say, I'm just going to be the wet blanket here. That's probably just for legal concerns, and I don't think we're getting it at all.
Most likely not.
Foxtel
So-
owns lots of HBO streaming rights.
Yeah.
There's no way
It's-
Foxtel's
yeah.
over Rupert's dead fingers.
It's either purely for legal reasons, just to
So, like,
keep it
there's
out of
another
other people's
yeah.
hands, or two, just so they can rebrand their HBO Live Foxtel service as HBO Max. Either way, it's not good for us.
I don't get it.
Unless they plan to release it here properly, which is not going to happen because Foxtel, then it doesn't matter.
I think we've talked about this before, though. I wonder if the people who make these decisions ever think, like, how much money do they get from Fox? Like, do they ever think, I wonder if we bought it directly to the consumer,
but
would we be able to make the same amount?
We've talked about it before. It's also, there's so many legal copyright issues with different countries and different regions, and the fact that Foxtel is ingrained in Australian society and has a stranglehold on the Australian government. I feel like it doesn't matter who comes in and says, "Oh, we're going to get rid of that and start our own, new thing." It's like, it's too difficult even for the biggest mega corporation. It might be the benefits might
Outweigh the cons.
the cons might outweigh exactly. So
Let's just hope that they cheekily allow us to use our Australian credit cards with
Back
a
in the
VPN or
like
a
back in the
DNS
Hulu
service.
days.
Like back in the good old Hulu days.
yeah, if you guys can get Hulu, I'm pretty sure you can get HBO Max.
Well, no, we can't get a few things now. But
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah, you have to buy iTunes cards, and it's very expensive.
they used to take.
I mean, you technically can though.
Yeah,
right?
we technically can, and we could technically get HBO Max.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when it comes to buying gift cards, it's usually more expensive than it's
Now,
worth.
the HBO Max service is quite broad.
Yeah. So I mean, it has like heaps of stuff because Warner Brothers and HBO
There's some
under the
connection,
same parent company or something. I don't know how that works. Warner Media.
But they have a ton of crap in their catalog.
Yeah, they have all the Studio Ghibli or Ghibli films. They apparently have all the Cartoon Network stuff, which is awesome.
Crunchyroll,
Crunchyroll, yeah.
South Park streaming exclusivity.
$500 million, man. So when HBO Max goes live eventually, it's going to come off Hulu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All the Doctor Who stuff. old
CNN movies, I think, as well.
CNN, TNT, TBS shows, True TV shows, the CW, Turner Classic Movies, New Line movies, Warner Brothers movies and shows, Looney Tunes, Rooster Teeth, Adult Swim. So a lot of stuff.
Please come to Australia.
Yeah, it's $15 a month, which is more expensive than most of the other streaming services, USD.
You get more, though.
But yeah, like I feel like it's kind of worth, the amount of stuff you get. I mean, if it did come here, I'm already breaking the bank with the streaming services I have and with Disney Plus, Yeah. So if it did come here, it's kind of like, but with the amount of stuff you get on it,
I know, it's hard. There's a hard decision.
Yeah. And I think HBO Max, they're also doing their own, like all streaming services now, they're doing their own original programming, and they're teaming up with, famous actors and filmmakers for that. So, I mean, like we said on countless other episodes, the age of the streaming wars has begun. Yeah. And this is only the beginning, but yeah, it's going to be
interesting.
Yeah. Was the Dune series on HBO Max?
I'm not sure.
I think so.
Dune had a series?
Dune.
Oh.
Dune. Liquid U. Dune. The Sisterhood, we talked about it. That was coming out. The one that connected to the new movie. I think that's HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, pretty.
I know.
Beefy service. So, unfortunately, we're in Australia, so it doesn't really matter to us.
Yeah.
And we're probably just gonna have to fly the flag, skull and crossbones.
Unless they take our credit cards.
I'm always willing. I'm always willing to pay.
Yeah, exactly.
Take my card, HBO. We don't have to tell anyone. We don't have to tell Rupert.
Also, apparently, they're making a Green Lantern show, which will be interesting because they've got the DC
or Hal Jordan.
We don't know.
I don't know, but probably Hal Jordan. He's the most popular.
But it's HBO, man.
Stewart. But anyway, yeah. But it's it's HBO. So production wise, it'll probably be quite good. But I'm just confused because they've got the CW shows, they've got the DC Universe streaming service.
Yeah, why are you scattering it?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, but the DC Universe streaming service, and with Swamp Thing being cancelled, it's like, are they just going to fold that into HBO Max and get rid of DC Universe, or are they going to keep that separate? And so you're going to have to pay for all these services, and plus the Green Lantern show. So I guess that's not connected to the DC Universe.
Yeah, weird. I
don't know what they're doing. But it'll be interesting to see, considering Green Lantern's poor live-action track record. Yeah. We'll see if they can pull it off, because animated Green Lantern, cool. But live-action Green Lantern hasn't worked out.
I think it's because it's so hard to do, because you have to use CGI.
Yeah, that's the thing, is because of his powers, it's just like, it works better just animated, because he can create a big green fist or a big green gun, and it's kind of like fun. Yeah. But if you have to CGI it, it's just like, ugh.
It was never going to be a good live action.
I feel like you can do it, but you have to really, really spend the money on it.
Or do 80 CG.
That would be cool.
You know what I mean?
But that's definitely
don't make it look photorealistic. You have to give it a real animated feel.
But even then, in terms of the actual him flying, you'd have to do a lot of wire work, and to actually make it look good, you can't just CGI the whole thing. You can only CGI his powers, because his powers are green energy.
Make his powers a cartoon,
hand drawn 2D. That would be fun, like a Roger Rabbit.
When it comes out, we're just going to call it Green Screen Lantern.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first Green Lantern movie was basically Green Screen Lantern, but
what Green Lantern movie?
Yeah, sorry, then they never made one. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not completely against it. I like Green Lantern. I want to see him done. I want to see him done well.
Yeah, no, good comics. It's just a shame they can't make one a good adaptation.
Yeah. You should watch the animated movies. They're pretty cool.
I know. I do like them. I haven't seen all of them.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the Green Lantern movies.
No, the DC animated is where it's at.
Oh yeah, they're great.
High quality.
Yeah, dope. One more thing.
Yes.
Which isn't really a thing, but we can talk about it.
Did we talk about Obi-Wan having is
I
it a movie
we
or a
mentioned
TV
the
show?
series. So back in the day when we were reviewing the Star Wars movies, there was the rumors of the Boba Fett movie and the Obi-Wan movie. The Boba Fett movie eventually got cancelled, and I think the Obi-Wan movie got cancelled as well. Then there was silence for a little while, and then Ewan McGregor was like, they're making an Obi-Wan TV series for Disney Plus. And everyone was like losing their minds, which we talked about, I think, in the Disney Plus episode where we talked about everything that was announced.
Yeah.
But then there was another article a while after that announcement where Ewan McGregor, or someone said that actually the Obi-Wan TV series had been in development for quite a while, and that they just announced it now. So I think at some point the movie kind of morphed into the TV show, even before Disney Plus had been announced. And the Boba Fett show movie got cancelled, assumedly, one, because people had started to call Disney out on their shit, but two, because the Mandalorian TV show is basically a Boba Fett show. But yeah, we talked about, fits in with our streaming wars discussion with the Disney Plus, they're doubling down on the Star Wars shows, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than the movies. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, that's a safer bet, isn't it? Because you release a Star Wars movie and everyone's going to hate it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and I guess if you release any Star Wars content on your streaming service, you're going to get automatic subscribers and, yeah. But what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. So the sort of the news we were going to talk about, which is not really big news, is that after D&D, the Game of Thrones showrunners who screwed it all up, after they left the Star Wars trilogy or project they were working on, and everyone was happy about that.
Yeah.
After that, I saw, I didn't really look into it, but it's one of those things where you get all these clickbaity headlines where it's like people were all of a sudden doing all these things about what were D&D working on and why did they leave, all that stuff. And apparently from what I've been reading is they were going to make a Origins of the Jedi movie, which no,
man.
It's
too George Lucas-y to me.
But it's based on what Disney's doing with Star Wars, based on what The Last Jedi did to the Jedi, based on the prequels. It's that's the worst idea possible.
Yeah.
Then to get the guys who ruined Game of Thrones, one of the reasons they ruined it is because they didn't like the fantasy elements, to make a
story about a
thousands of years
religion.
Prequel for a mythic religion of Jedi warrior monks. That's the dumbest idea of it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why they were hired. It's you made that fantasy show and we're going to make a fantasy movie about the origins of the Jedi.
Especially considering the canonical origins of the Jedi as told by Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I didn't... Well, I understand a lot of people like that Book of Wills stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I personally thought they made it too complicated.
I think 99.99% of all prequels, they just shouldn't exist. You don't need to know. We don't want to know.
That's the thing.
Jedi are mysterious. We want them to be mysterious. We don't want to show their exact origins.
Because if I remember correctly, stuff like gods got involved. And I was like, one of our mutual friends was explaining it to me. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like Star Wars. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, if you get into the whole George Lucas side of things, you get too far up his own ass kind of thing. Doing an Origins of the Jedi movie would be interesting to make it like a medieval movie, but in space kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe one of the first guys to kind of discover you can...
no lightsabers, maybe they still use swords, maybe they've just invented... maybe not even light speed they don't have yet, but they have interstellar travel, a very... because the world of Star Wars is yes, it's technologically advanced, but it's kind of stagnant.
Yeah.
It's always the same. People always have the same technology. Doesn't matter if you go 1,000 years back or 1,000 years in the future. So to make something set thousands of years before the original movies, but make it a medieval and a sci-fi movie at the same time, that would be really cool. But like I always say with Disney, they can't pull it off. No way in hell, no chance in hell they can pull that off.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
It would be cool, but no one could ever do it, especially in the current Disney.
D&D certainly wouldn't take that direction.
And they were the worst possible people to do it. So it probably was never going to happen, even with them. Now that they're gone, if they do try to make an Origins of the Jedi movie, it'll suck either way. It doesn't matter. At least you could make the argument that if it's set that far back, they don't have to worry about connecting it. Because one of the things I don't like about the Obi-Wan series and the Mandalorian series is that it's so close to the originals and the prequels and the sequels that it's kind of
They feel the need to reference everything.
Yeah, exactly. So as if you go back thousands of years, I mean,
it's a House of the Dragon thing.
Yeah, it's like how many Easter eggs can you have? How many recurring characters from the originals can you have? Probably not that many.
They'll shoehorn Yoda in somewhere.
That's the thing is like, it's like, actually I didn't think of that. They'll be like, Yoda's 900, so maybe his grandfather's there or something, It's like,
and he's exactly the same as Yoda.
Yeah.
Oh no.
See, fucking hell. We ruined it already, and it probably never existed and never will exist. But if the rumors are true, not looking forward to any Star Wars. I mean, people know this.
Yeah.
People know.
Just leave us alone.
I'm just repeating myself. But I thought it'd be, fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, no, we should at least bring it up with the audience.
Yeah. Oh god. Oh well, still got my original EU. One day we'll have to do an EU episode.
Yeah.
Or Legends or whatever they call it now.
Yeah,
because that shit was cool. There was some dumb shit, but there was also some cool shit.
A lot of good stuff in there.
And I reckon
good self-contained, like the courtship of Princess Leia. Like, did you ever read that one?
Yeah, that one was kind of dumb though, wasn't it? Whether she had to like get married off or something.
No, she had to choose between. It was like Han or like the diplomat guy. But the reason I like it is because it's like a there are large ramifications, but it's also a self-contained story.
Yeah.
There's that one about just after they've got married that I really liked. What was it called? Oh shit, I can't remember.
Yeah,
give me a sec.
But yeah, like I think we always speculate on the show, and most of our speculation is just wild and completely unfounded and leads nowhere, and we probably shouldn't even mention it because it ends up being a non-discussion. But it would be really cool, like in 10, 20 years, to see how badly they fuck up Star Wars, and then to go back and like read the 90s EU and compare it, because what we're going to get for the next 20 years of Star Wars is so many prequels and sequels and spin-offs that it's kind of its own version of the EU, but a really Disney-fied, crappy version of it. And then to compare it side by side with the original EU, that'll be interesting.
Definitely.
That's why I always strive to, every time I see an EU novel or comic book, buy it. And I've got, a massive collection now because it's important.
Tatooine Ghost. Did you ever read that one?
Oh, yeah, no, I've got that one. I haven't read it, though.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah. There's also those cool novels like Tales from the Empire, Tales from Jabba's Palace, Tales, the Bounty Hunter Tales.
Just random.
Just cool stuff.
Yeah.
I like because like some of the stories aren't even that sci-fi. Like that one, the Tatooine Ghost, it's kind of like a stealth novel, Like that's the reason I like it.
But that's
when these new movies come out, it's all so obviously Star Wars. everyone has a lightsaber. There's laser guns everywhere.
That's one of the things I hate about these new Disney movies is that each and every one of them, even the Solo movie, has like lightsabers and Jedis in them. And I want one Star Wars movie where there's no Jedi, no lightsabers.
That's right.
They don't mention anyone from the other movies, and it's just like a smuggling or a bounty hunter.
I never read the books, but like there's a whole bunch of X-Wing books.
Yeah. Oh, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Like Rogue Squadron books. Like, it's just like Wedge is sent on a mission, into the, it's like cool stuff.
Like, that's what a Star Wars is so good for. It's a universe. Yeah. And the EU let people play with it.
Yeah.
In a way that the movies don't.
While still staying true to
it's like because
the originals.
The movies, like, while they're amazing, they're also small in scope in the sense that you see Tatooine.
Yeah.
You see the Death Star. You see Hoth, but it's a big universe.
Yeah. Whereas Disney is like intent on just revisiting the same places, revisiting the same characters. So, I mean, we could always go on for Star Wars for hours and hours and hours. But already we kind of gone on a tangent about it. You guys want to mention anything else?
Gucci.
Apparently they're making Frozen 2.
Yeah, it's coming out soon, I think.
I don't care, but I just saw a poster for it. I was like, that looks kind of interesting.
No, they announced that ages ago.
I don't care about Frozen, but the poster was nice.
It's a nice poster. Who cares?
Death Stranding comes out this week.
Yeah, so we'll probably talk about that a bit next week.
I'm going to try and get that poster printed because that looks
that's
amazing.
Cool. Yeah. That's it. All right, I think it's Callum's turn to sign off.
Thank you for listening. Like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Tuesday Review AU. You can follow James on Instagram at Channel Drifter, where he talks about all the movies we don't get to talk about on the show. You can find our previous episodes on your favorite podcasting app. If you like video games, check out Callum, Jake, and Nathan's show Sunrise Arcade. If you like automotive discussion, please check out Maddie J's show Car Talk, TRQUE. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Tuesday Review on iTunes. Adios, cousins.